Hi, everyone. I'm super excited that we have some very special guests, some VIPs. We have four awesome parents, trailblazing parents who are traveling the world right now. And I met them all a little over a year ago. And somehow they found me and I found them, and they signed up for my beta cohort for my 12-week course, How to Travel Extensively, How to World School and Travel Extensively. I have a couple different things I have going on. So gather around and hear their wonderful adventures, the good, the bad, and the ugly, hopefully not too much ugly. So we have Sonya. I keep calling you Sonya V because we had a Sonya O in the course last time. Sonya is a teacher from California, from Southern California. She was teaching for 20 years, and she and her husband William and their wonderful daughter, 5-year-old daughter Beverly, have been traveling for about 4 months, I think. We'll ask all the questions. We have Tiphini here. She is from New Mexico. You've got 3 kids that are traveling with you, right? With you and your husband?
Yes.
And then we have Jeff Bender. He is from Washington State, the same state I am in currently, traveling with his wife and 2 kids, twins, right? And then Charlotte Daly, who is a wonderful mom that I've met in person, and she's got twin girls. She's from the UK. So welcome, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Doing good.
Awesome. I'm super glad that you guys are all here because sometimes you do pop into our weekly group Zooms when I redo the course. I've done it 3 times already, and we're gearing up for the 4th time. So I love it when you guys show up. I know, Jeff, I've been trying to chase you down, but you've been gallivanting around the world. You haven't been able to make it yet. So I'm so glad you're here today to let us know how it's going. So let's see. So Sonya, I already said Beverly's 5. Tiphini, you want to let us know the ages of your kids?
Sure. We have 16, 15, and 13.
Awesome. Teenagers. Yay. Same with Charlotte. Charlotte, you have 2 teens. What are their ages now? 13 and I think you're muted. Still muted. Okay, I think you're.
There we go. No, I've unmuted. Sorry, I was busy just telling my 2 teens off. That's why I was distracted for a minute. So sorry there. Like, stop. I've got a 14-year-old and a soon-to-be 17-year-old.
Okay, and then you are on the streets of Valencia right now. And Jeff, your kids are teens as well. So funny how we have all these teens. How old are they?
Yeah, teen. They're twin 14-year-olds, boy and girl.
Awesome. Yeah, we are both twin parents. Wonderful. So let's talk about what motivated your family to take this crazy plunge into the world schooling world and travel. Sonya, you want to go first? What was the impetus?
Sure. I come from a family of travelers, and I have done a lot of travel independently myself before becoming a mom, and then also with my partner, with William, we've done a lot of adventures, and it's just one of those things you don't want to stop doing. You just want to keep going. But when you have a child, it's much different. And knowing that we knew we wanted to continue and make it more of a extended travel experience versus what we had been doing, which was just kind of summers as teacher, as a teacher, we had summers, and make it more of a lifestyle. But this time, do it with our child, to let her see the world in the way that we've been seeing it and the way that most kids don't get to see it.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly. Tiphini, what about you? Why did you guys want to do this adventure?
This has kind of been a plan in the making for about a decade, just different iterations. And we have an older child who's a young adult. And once he was out of the house, we kind of realized, okay, if we're going to do this, we better do it soon, because our other kids are, getting, our second oldest will be 17 this summer. So we're kind of running out of time. So we decided to just go for it.
Awesome. Awesome. Charlotte, what about you?
Well, it was more driven by my husband. I've always loved to travel, but never really thought it was a reality to do it full time. And he suggested taking advantage of the high house prices at the time in the UK. And he put it to me to sell the house and travel. And I was like, yeah, no brainer, let's do it. And that's exactly what we did. Very little planning involved. We sold the house, bought a motorhome, and we set off.
Awesome. Yeah, you're one of the 2 people who joined my course after starting your travels, which was
Yes.
awesome. Jeff, what about your family?
Our experiences were similar. I think one of the impetus for us to make the leap was we were pretty, we were sort of unhappy with the school system, with traditional school. That was one of the driving motivators. Secondly, my wife and I had worked really hard in our careers, and I had a business that I had just sold. We never really, we were kind of like Charlotte. We didn't plan this well in advance at all. And I just kept running across your name, Liz, as I fell down the rabbit hole. And next thing you know, 6 months later, I think we were on our way.
Awesome, awesome, wonderful. Okay, so we were talking about not preparing and then finding me and preparing. So other than my course, well, why did you decide to take my course instead of DIY, doing it yourself and then kind of winging it, figuring it out along the way? Sonia?
Because there was so much information. It was so overwhelming. The Worldschooling groups on Facebook are amazing, but it's like, you know, it's like a rabbit hole, what Jeff just said. And I needed, and this is the term I used for you back then, and I'm still going to use it, the doula. I needed the person who's just going to hold my hand and walk me through it and help keep me calm and explain it and make it all more just doable and manageable and real, instead of just like out there and all these people doing these things that I don't know. Having someone who can almost be a friend and, you know, just walk me through it and listen when I'm stressed and not knowing what to do, and just say, look, this is okay. This is all you need to know.
Awesome. Thank you for saying that. Tiffany, what about you? Why did you decide to go with me versus figuring it out? Because you've been doing a lot of research on your own for a while.
Well, we didn't really land on the idea of world schooling and traveling continuously until, I don't know, the last year or 2. But same as Sonia, like it's just super overwhelming. I joined all the world schooling groups, and you know, sometimes when people are already in the thick of it, it's hard for them to sort of back up and speak in layman's terms. So I needed someone to like speak slowly to me so I could take it in. And it was super beneficial, and it was also really nice to have the camaraderie of other people who didn't think I was crazy
Yes.
doing this with me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've all become friends, and you know, I've met Sonia in real life. William and
Yeah.
their daughter, they visited us in the
We
Seattle
came and
area for
stayed
2
with
days.
you.
And then Charlotte, I met you in Bulgaria, and then later again in Italy. And then you have become friends with Tiffany. Your kids have become with Tiffany and her thing. So you guys have to meet up with Jeff soon, because
I would love to.
it's like we first are virtual friends and then we become friends in real life. So that's awesome to have this community. Charlotte, I think I remember when you first reached out to me, you just said, we're winging it. And it's kind of
Yeah.
overwhelming. You already were traveling, right?
Yeah, I mean, 18 months in, I still feel I'm winging it a lot, I'll be honest with you. But certainly at that time, I think we'd set off, we had no clear plan, we didn't really know what I was doing. I was most definitely winging it. And really what attracted me a lot to your course, I'm quite, I am a planner, even though I wing it a lot of the time. I like to know what's possible, and I like to know what's available so that I can make informed choices. I might make them last minute, but I do make them. And what I really loved about your course was not just all the information that was included, but I could go back to it anytime as well. And that's also what helps stop the overwhelm. And I'm trying to take in information all the time, and it's continuous. Eventually, it gets too much and I switch off. What I was able to do with your course is dip in and out. I was able to go back and rewatch things. I was able to pick out the things that were relevant to me and to leave the things that weren't relevant to me. And that's really what attracted me to the course with you. And that's how it's worked for me.
Thank you. And you know, it's so funny because you guys took my beta course, and I do a Google Slides presentation over 12 weeks. And I think it was 300 and something, nearly 400 pages. It's now 545. I was able to put more photos in and some more slides, and you guys can access it forever. And this time around, I'm going to be uploading the videos onto a platform, and I'm going to chunk it up. Instead of these 1-2 hour long videos, I'm going to chunk it up and have little topics, so it'll be easier for you to find the information. Jeff, what about you? Why did you decide to take my course versus figuring this out on your own? Because I know you guys were really nervous at the beginning of this idea, right?
Terrified. Yeah. And we were just on the edge of this cliff, and like everybody else has said, the amount of information is just overwhelming, and the depth of all of the different Facebook circles or Instagram groups, it's never ending. And it wasn't just like having your course that helped a lot. It was also being introduced to some other experts as well. That was something that I really valued a lot and still take advantage of. Jen Miller in Guatemala and Colleen Mariotti, just two people that that you interviewed that I really valued. I read their information still along with your information, but it just helped to, I think more than anything, it got us over the fear and made it tangible. It made it like a real thing that isn't just some crazy thing you read on the internet. These are
Exactly.
real people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Awesome. Yeah, it's wonderful. I connected with Jen Miller. We're going to be collaborating on a cool project coming up. She is awesome. So she inspired me. I mean, she and many of the other people have been world schooling longer than I have, really inspired me. So I wanted to bring these people, these, greatest of all time kind of people, and interview them to help inspire you all. Wonderful. Okay, so let's talk about what you did with your home base. Did you sell everything and travel, or because Charlotte mentioned you guys sold your house, or did you rent it out? Sonya, what did you do with all of your belongings?
So I stopped teaching in June. The school year ended, and I just took the summer. We left in September, so I just took the summer to go through all our belongings. It took way longer than I thought it would. And we stored it. We have like a little attic in our garage. We have a tiny little garage, and we just kept whatever would fit up there, and then gave away, or mostly gave away, everything else. And then set it up as an Airbnb. So we had to kind of buy more furniture. We needed to stage it essentially, and then get it ready to Airbnb. And we've been Airbnb-ing it. There have been some, challenges, but overall it's been working well for us. We have a manager. She's doing a great job of helping us. And we have folks staying there for a month or longer. So
good.
Which is, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, I did interview a few months ago a woman named Kristen Zalatan in my interview series about renting out the house on Airbnb, and she also does a minimum of a month too.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Okay, and Tiphini, did you guys rent out your house, and don't you have someone taking care of your dogs? Tell us about that. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. Yes, we have 3 dogs. So that was kind of a big, and a lizard. So we had to figure out what to do with our animals. So we had a friend just take our lizard into their home. And then we had other friends that had kind of done their own sort of gap year, and they were moving back to Santa Fe, and they're renting our house with our dog. So we downsized a lot of our belongings, and then we put all of our personal belongings locked off in the master bedroom. So they're renting the rest of our house at a discount in exchange for keeping our dogs.
That is such a great deal. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's worked great.
You sold your house, and what about your belongings? Are you there? Oh,
Is it me?
no, Charlotte.
Sorry. Yeah, we basically got rid of everything. We sold the house, and pretty much the entire contents we either gave away or got rid of. So we do have a very small garage that we do have some storage in, but that's mostly my husband's tools and things like that. But pretty much everything we got rid of. We bought a motorhome, so we have a very limited amount of things there. So I do have like a change of seasonal clothes in the motorhome. So that's generally what I do if I'm sort of transiting between sort of seasons, is go back to the motorhome, swap my clothes over, and then carry on traveling. But other than that, yeah, we are so minimalist, it's untrue.
Your motorhome you usually have in Spain, and then you store it then you fly off elsewhere, right? So you kind of mix that up.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
all right, Jeff, you guys sold a house and a business at the same time.
Yeah, the business and the house were on the same property. It was a wedding venue is what it was. So we had 500 chairs and, 38 tables and all kinds of everything you need for a wedding. So we got rid of all of that. We sold almost everything that we own. We freaked out at the last minute, and a lot of the big ticket items like for your kitchen or stuff that I had accumulated over the years, tools and such that I use both for flipping houses and that I had for the business, what have you. That kind of stuff seemed a lot harder to part with. It seemed more expensive. We knew that we wouldn't recapture much, much value out of that if we did an estate sale, which is what we did. So some of that stuff went into a storage unit, and then some of it went into my mother-in-law's garage. But outside of that, like all our furniture, all our clothes, all our cars, Christmas stuff, you name it, we sold it all.
Okay.
And our families thought we were, and still think we're absolutely insane.
Yeah, well,
We sold our cars too.
I want to
Yeah.
ask how you feel about shedding
Us
all
too.
of so many of your belongings. How do you feel about it now? Do you miss your things?
For us, it was wildly liberating. It was so crazy. There was stuff, especially when we had the estate sale, and we really didn't generate a lot of revenue out of the estate sale. It was disappointing in a way. But the crazy part is that there were boxes that we had moved to 5 different houses that had never
Us
been
too.
untaped. It was just so dumb. It was so dumb.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm
We had
glad
the same.
you got rid of it instead of storing things that are in boxes that you don't need. Anyone else have something to say about this, about your emotional attachment to your belongings and letting go?
We
I'll share.
have.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead, Sonia.
No, go ahead.
We have not missed much, and we were not ready to sell our house when we left, but we are starting the process of looking at selling our house now. So I still have an emotional attachment to it. The only thing I can say that we really, really miss is our dogs. And
Yeah.
maybe a couple extra outfits, just because I hate having to buy stuff that I know is like at home in my closet.
We're going to talk about
We had
packing
2
a little
dogs
bit.
and a cat as well that we had to part with. The cat went like to a permanent new home, but our 2 dogs, one is with one best friend and the other is with another best friend, and they're living their best life. Like our dogs are having the best life that they
Good.
probably could have ever imagined, because they
Awesome.
both have friends now, and so that part was great. It was really hard to do. The weird part was that I'll add is that even our kids, they were 13 when we did all this, with the exception of like my son, he had our time storing his Xbox. But outside of that, they didn't complain at all. And I think they had sort of the same sensation, that it was just sort of liberating just to get rid of all the junk that was in their closet. It was crazy.
Yeah. It's so
Yeah,
much
we're
part of
shocked.
so much part of the American culture and the British culture to just have so much stuff, a house full of stuff. So, Sonia, what did you want to say?
I wanted to piggyback off what you were saying, Jeff. I was really scared about having to ask Beverly, she's 5, to get rid of her toys. Like that really scared me, but she did way better than I thought she would. And then we kind of compromised, and we have a little carry-on suitcase, her little unicorn suitcase, and she can fit a ton of stuff in there, like way more than what you would think. And she's very happy with that. She never really talks about missing. Sometimes when she sees kids riding a bike or a scooter, she'll talk about, oh, but we still have it. We kept her bike. So it's not like extremely easy. There's still certain things we miss, but overall it's much easier than what I had anticipated. And then the just kind of the emotional sentimental items we kept in storage. And then I actually brought along a lot of the photographs that we had framed around the house, just took them out of the frames and we brought them with us. And so when we're in a place for a while, we put them up. So to have like our family members and, you know, just our like wedding picture, you know, that kind of thing, the sentimental stuff. You're muted.
Muted. Sometimes I cough and I mute myself. No, it's
Yeah.
nice. You can bring some of the sentimental things with you and make a home wherever you are. So Sonya, you launched about 4 months ago, right? And Tiphini about 7 months ago. Jeff, when did you guys launch? Around the same time? Around 6 months ago?
Yeah, September, start of September.
Yeah.
Okay, and Charlotte, you've been on the road a bit longer, well over a year, right? And so let's see, tell me where you are. I know Charlotte's in Valencia, Sonya, you're in Buenos Aires, Tiphini, you're now in Istanbul. You said one of your kids' favorite cities. My kids love that place too. And Jeff is in Vietnam. So we are on 5 continents now, or whatever, 4 or 5 continents. Amazing. I can't believe it. So let's talk about where you've been so far. Sonya, you are doing a big tour around South America. Let us know, you know, quickly the countries you've been, or maybe the cities or towns.
Yeah, we did too. So William's Colombian. I was also born in Colombia. So we started there and we started with where family and friends are. And then we kind of ventured off a couple times to some new places. We stayed at that point, we were moving every 7 to 10 days. So I would consider that fast travel. So that was our first 2 months. And then we flew from Bogota down to the very bottom of Patagonia and in the Chilean side. And we did 2 weeks in Chile, would have done more, but it was above our budget. So, and then we crossed over into the Argentinian side of Patagonia, the most southern part, did a week there, and then flew up to Bariloche in northern Patagonia on the Argentinian side. And that's when we slowed down. And we did a month there, and then now a month in Buenos Aires, and then we'll do a month in Bolivia. So we're kind of slowing down now, and we're staying in each place for at least 3 weeks.
Yeah, I would
preferably 4 or 5.
I think a lot of world schoolers, the newbies, travel for a bit and then you slow it down. So it's not surprising. Tiphini, what about you guys? Where have you been?
We started in the UK and we did the same. We moved sort of fast in the beginning because we knew it was summer and wanted to see a bit. So we started in the UK and then we did Norway. And then we came down to Italy for a couple weeks. That was our first month-long stay, which I hated. We did Florence for a month and I regretted it. And then we did Rome for a month. And then we did Greece, Tunisia, 2 months in Egypt, and now we're in Istanbul. We're in Turkey for about 6 weeks.
Wonderful. Okay. Yeah. I think you mentioned you were in Florence for a month, like in the middle of the town during August. So it was really crowded during that time.
It was terrible.
Charlotte and I were in Florence together, but just for a week. Charlotte, let us know. You've been to a lot of places. So you've been to multiple continents. Let us know some of the places you've been to.
Okay. So we started in Europe. So we did sort of France and Spain, and then we went to Bulgaria. We did a couple of short stops. We went over to Greece and we went over to Turkey. Istanbul is also one of our favourite all-time cities. We've been there a few times now and we'll definitely go back again. Then we went to Florence. Then we went back to the UK and up to Scotland. In Scotland, we went to Dominican Republic. In Dominican Republic, we went to Ecuador. From Ecuador, we went to Uganda as well in between all of those somewhere.
Wow.
After Ecuador, where did we go after Ecuador, girls? Where did we go after Ecuador? After Ecuador, America. Then we went to America. So yeah, quite a few. Then we did 2 months in Egypt with Tiphini and her family. That was quite an experience, and then we're doing a month in Spain at the moment before we move on back to Bulgaria again. So yeah, we've been all over.
Wonderful. And Jeff, what about you guys? You started off in Austria where you had spent some time when you were younger, right?
Yeah, I lived in Austria for a couple of years in my college years. So that was sort of a homecoming. We spent quite a while there, about 6 weeks, but I had a friend there that we were very excited to spend time with. So we did Austria, Bavaria, generally sort of Germany, Austria, northern Italy. And then we moved down to Lucca, Italy, and we stayed in Lucca for a month. And after Lucca, we went to Thailand. We spent 2 months in Thailand, a little bit of Bangkok, a little bit of Chiang Mai up in the north, and then back down and got onto a couple of the islands. And then just recently made our way to Vietnam. And we've only been in Vietnam going on 2 weeks. We're in Nha Trang. And then next Monday, we're going to Hoi An and then Da Nang. They're kind of right next to each other. So
Wonderful. All right. So what have been your favorite countries or cities or towns? Like name one or two. Sonia, is it hard to name a favorite?
It's hard, yeah. I mean, Colombia is dear to our hearts. It's our second home. So I think that's just a given. But we've honestly, we've really loved Argentina. We've now spent a month in Bariloche, and now we're in our second week in Buenos Aires. In both places, we're like, we could live here. We could live here for a while. Yeah,
I really like BA. I mean, I'm going to keep being a digital nomad even after my kids have flown the coop, and I think BA is definitely a place I'll spend more time in. Tiphini, what about you guys?
It's hard. It's a hard one to answer. We really loved Norway, except the cost. Erke was an area there that we just fell in love with, small, tiny town. We had a really impactful experience in Tunisia as well. And of course we love Istanbul, and we really like Greece as well. We went there for a honeymoon, so it was very sweet to go back with the kids.
Nice. Charlotte, what about you? Your favorites?
That is really tough. I would probably say Ecuador, can you hear me okay? Yeah. I'd say Ecuador, which was amazing, because when I first got to Ecuador, I had a meltdown living in a rainforest, but it did actually turn into one of my favorite places to be. I absolutely love Istanbul and would return there at a moment's notice. But believe it or not, one of my favorite places was the time that I spent in Scotland. And even though I'm from the UK, I'd not actually spent a lot of time there. And then when I had sort of 5-6 weeks to really explore it, I absolutely loved it. So yeah, Scotland is up there with Ecuador as my favorite places to be.
And very different places. We're hoping to go to Scotland this summer. Jeff, any favorites?
Boy, it's so funny. We just, not because we were having this meeting today, but we just talked about this with our kids today. And I don't know that we can narrow it down. Everybody liked, everywhere that we have gone, everyone liked for different reasons. Each one of them had a couple facets or a couple little nuggets that we all enjoyed. I think that maybe northern Thailand, everyone sort of generally agreed that that was really fun. We loved that, and it was easy too. Being in Europe for as long as we were, and sort of having to contemplate the whole Schengen zone, visa requirements, and all that I think has been the singularly most frustrating thing for us in terms of wanting to slow travel. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But we loved Austria, and we really did love Lucca too, even though we had some really bad weather while we were there, like cars floating down the road, flooding.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Is there a country or a city or place that you would not return to and you had a bad time there, or they were all okay? No, we don't want to throw any shade on any place.
Well, I've got to say, it's not a bad place by any stretch of the imagination, but we spent, and Tiffany will probably with me on this, we've just spent a couple of months in Egypt, and a month or longer of that was in Luxor. And I expected to actually love Egypt because I've been before 30 years ago, fell in love with the place, but it's not somewhere, it's somewhere I'd be returning to. Loved the hub experience, but it was hard living there.
Yeah, because the people are,
I agree.
you have to haggle, and you're always getting like approached by touts to, you know, buy stuff. Is that
Constantly.
okay?
It was
Mm.
emotionally
it's constant.
exhausting. It was emotionally exhausting there. I feel like it was probably a little extra because of everything that's going on in the Middle East. There was a lot of cancellations, and so people were a little bit frantic to make money. But it was intense, very intense. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Okay, let's start talking about education. In my course, I went through the top 6 ways for kids to learn typically while they're world schooling, and I tried to always go through the pros and cons, and I didn't want to push one way. We've tried a bunch of different ways, but I didn't want to push my way. I wanted to show you guys all the different ways that your kids can learn, and this is why I interview a bunch of people. So what did you decide, Sonya? And you're, you know, a teacher, so what did you decide for Beverly? The way for her to learn?
So as we went through your course, that was probably the all the different methods of schooling while on the road was probably the chunk of the course that was most informative, just new information for me.
And you're a teacher.
And I'm a teacher, yeah. And it was really exciting, but also it was so much. And I know that as Beverly gets older and you know, depending on what our choices are and what decisions we make in terms of continuing with this type of living, I'm going to go back and revisit like so many times because there's so much there. I think that's the part of your course that is least accessible to anyone who doesn't take the course. Like a lot of the traveling information is super helpful and it's concise and you just organize it really well. But I think the schooling part is the part that is was the most helpful for me, but also not totally what I'm using yet because my daughter's only 5.
Sure.
But it's really great foundation for me to see all of the different ways and hear from all the parents that are already doing it. What are we actually doing right now? We're kind of sticking with mostly just unschooling or self-directed learning. And then we use some apps here and there to practice some of the literacy and some of the basic foundational math skills. But yeah, we're just letting her play, to be honest, and just enjoying her being able to play and be free and have that kind of relaxed sort of environment to learn in.
Wonderful. And she's working on her Spanish too, right?
She is, yeah. I just signed her up for so she wasn't, we were gonna, so here in Argentina, the summer camps, so we're here during summertime, they're called colonias. And we offered her a colonia in Bariloche. She wasn't interested. I think it was just because we were out in nature. She was exploring. She was having fun anyway. Here in the city, I kind of wanted to sign up for the class, some sort of class, so that she could also have that exposure to Spanish. And so we signed her up for Colonia that starts next week, and it's going to be art-based.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Tiphini, what about you? I mean, you have teenagers. The rest of you have teenagers. So what did you choose for the way for your kids to learn?
I have to say, just like Sonya, that the educational piece of part of your course was the most impactful for me, and it was what we all needed to kind of work on. So we're doing a bit of a hodgepodge. We've shifted from when we started to now several times already. Well, we kind of landed on because I have 2 high schoolers. So I'm doing like some of the core classes like math and English, I'm doing a little bit more structured. So my son, who's a sophomore, took a community college class, distance college class in the fall. And my daughter's doing math with Cicero. And she's also doing an executive functioning class with Cicero that's been really, really helpful. They all started out doing IEW for English, and none of them are doing that anymore. So my 2 younger ones are doing an outschool program. My son is loosely using what he learned in IEW to write. We watch the news. We are doing a lot of self-growth work from different books. We're kind of just reading really good novels and Socratic seminaring them together. And then, yeah, we just go and do a lot and do tours and visit museums. So there's a lot of unschooling, I guess, place-based learning happening was some more structure.
Yeah, it's hard not to unschool a little bit while you're traveling. Otherwise, you'd be cooped up in your Airbnb all day doing worksheets. Hopefully, you're not doing that. I know you're not. Charlotte, what about you guys? I think your kids attend an online school.
Yeah, well, sort of. This is where I suppose joining your course later, I sort of missed out on the options. So when I started traveling, I didn't know the various options of schooling. So I just thought I had to replicate school at home. So they were signed up to all their classes, their maths, their English, their science, all of the, to do school at home. We very quickly, a couple of months into traveling, realized that that wasn't working because, like you just said, you're spending all time sat inside doing school when actually the whole point of this was to explore the world. So we have sort of moved further and further away from structured learning into more unschooling, as the term puts it. So they do still do structured learning around English, maths, and science, but I'm not super strict on how much time they spend on that. And the rest of it is learn through experience. And I found that to be for my girls, to be the best way forward. It caused too much tension trying to get them to sit in front of worksheets and online lessons and things like that. They weren't learning what I wanted them to learn, which was about the world. That's why we do it.
Right. Okay, got it. Jeff, what about your
So
kids?
I do wish, I'll just add that I do wish that if I'd started your program before, or done your program before I started travel, I would have been much more knowledgeable about the different ways to educate your children or to school your children, which I wasn't when I first started. So
Thanks. Yeah, I do hear that a lot of
it would have been easier.
Yeah, I think a lot of world schools start off like you, like very structured school at home or in your RV or Airbnb, wherever you are, and then or an online, school. And some of them are very structured, others are more loose. So and then they figure out that it's not working, like you said. It's just too hard because the world is they learn so much just being out in the world. Jeff, what are your kids doing?
We're doing, I'd say, a combination of unschooling and for the maths and sciences, they're using Khan Academy, have been since we started. They also do both of them are very diligent, do a really good job at journaling all of our experiences and all their adventures. We just started a new thing too. So we found that they both, they're the same age, but they're boy and girl. Girls always seem to be a little bit wiser and more mature at this age. And so they have that sort of innate difference built in already. But it feels like that they both have sort of said to us that they want a little more structure. And so one of the things that we're doing now is that if we go to a specific site, like a historical site, we went to a temple and a pagoda here in Vietnam just 2 days ago. We have them read up on those beforehand. And then when we get there, we let them sort of educate us on what we're looking at.
Love it.
So that's worked. That's new, but it seems like it's going to work really well. And we've been really surprised, actually, at the level of interest that they both had whenever we go somewhere. Some stuff better than others. The Vatican Museum, for instance, that was just wildly overwhelming, and they lost interest.
Interesting.
But for most things, they're kind of plugged in. It's cool.
That is awesome. And yeah, remember we talked about the different ways people can learn the effectiveness about how much you remember. So if you know you're going to be teaching others, like your parents, about something, you're more likely to learn it well and remember it. So
Totally.
Okay, you guys have all talked a little bit about some challenges and some bumps and how you've changed things. So anything that we haven't talked about as far as education, schooling that you want to change still moving forward? I mean, Sonya, you said as Beverly gets older, but anyone else? You think you're in a good groove now with learning? Yes, thumbs up? Okay, cool. So let's talk about some of your favorite activities or the interesting sites that you've seen, because Jeff, you've mentioned some of them. What were the standout places? Sonya?
Patagonia. just the level of beauty, just natural landscape beauty, was so inspiring and just worth everything that went into getting ourselves down there.
Your photos are
Um,
amazing.
it was glorious. It was glorious. And just being in that super remote sort of place, I don't think I've been somewhere so isolated and remote other than like an island. Um, and it was just majestic. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And
And
Buenos
your
Aires
husband
is,
is paragliding, right?
yeah, I haven't posted that yet, but he got to paraglide in Bariloche. Down in southern Patagonia, no way. The wind is just intense. There's no way. But in northern Patagonia, he got to paraglide, so that was really exciting. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Tiphini, what about you? What have been your favorite activities or places that you've been?
Um, we loved, like I said, Norway was one of our favorites up in the mountain areas. The kids loved, my two older teens learned how to windsurf there, and that was like one of their favorite things that we did. And then my boys really liked cliff jumping and Cinque Terre, which was terrifying to watch. And actually, even though I didn't love Florence as a place to be, I did love the history there and the art. And then same with Egypt. It was a hard place to be, but it's like it was pretty amazing to see some of the places that we saw. Like Abu Simbel was a huge highlight for me, and the Tomb of Nefertari. Those places kind of truly took my breath away.
Yeah, I have to say it reminds me of when I was a young woman backpacking. I went to India and I had such major culture shock there. And I was really upset for a lot of it being there. And then I left. I was so eager to leave. And then now I really want to go back. I mean, with my kids. And we need to do it in a certain way, to try to, I don't know, make sure we don't get accosted all the time and with all the senses and things that just come at you. But I really want to go back. Charlotte, what have been your favorite sites or favorite activities that you've been doing?
Okay, well, it'd probably be completely different if you ask my children to what if you ask me. I know in terms of my children, they absolutely loved learning to ski in Bulgaria, so which is why we're going back again this year because they want to go and do it again. For me, probably much more of the places that were closer to nature. So again, it was one of their favourites as well. Was the time that we spent volunteering on the eco farm in the Ecuadorian jungle because it was just surreal to be wandering around the jungle, looking at all the beauty and stepping over the odd snake. So that was pretty amazing. But as well, I think for my kids, when we went to places that were quite iconic in their brain, so like when we went to New York, they saw if in real life all the things they'd only ever seen on TV. So for them that was pretty amazing. So it most definitely, depending if you ask them or if you ask me, what our highlights are. And I've got to agree with Tiphini. When we first got that view of Abu Simbel, it literally was breathtaking and skin tingling.
Amazing, amazing. Jeff, what about you guys? Favorite activities or sites that you've seen?
I think there's been a few standouts on the Europe side when we were in Bavaria. I know that when we went to a lot of the World War II historical sites like the Eagle's Nest, or we, as a family, we went to Dachau. Those were hugely impactful. And I don't think that's anything that any of us will ever forget anytime soon. When we went to Thailand, the absolute standout experience we had there was in, or just outside of Chiang Mai. We did a lot of research. We found like a ethical elephant sanctuary. It's an animal sanctuary. And we actually stayed there for a couple days. And that was just, it's beyond words. Like
Yeah.
it was so amazing. And then when we came to Vietnam, and all of these things sort of have a theme, but when we came to Vietnam, we met a family, and it was just happenstance. We met them in our hotel, and they took us up into the jungle, into a tiny little village, where the level of poverty is beyond words. and we volunteered with that group to hand out some food and clothing and essentials and so forth. The thing that kind of ties all these things together was the more sort of structure that we had and the more opportunity that we had to connect with people that were native made all the difference. And those are the things that the kids talk about.
Yeah. It's going beyond the tourist resorts and just not just talking to the people working there, but meeting
Yeah.
local. That is wonderful.
And they're getting better at that. They're actually the people, the kids now are starting to just talk to people on the street. Like we just met people from Toronto not too long ago, just because they went up and talked to them, which is great.
Yeah, well, that's my next question about socializing, meeting people, whether it's locals or other world schoolers. And Charlotte's battery is running low, so we might lose you, but let's try to keep you as long as possible. So let's talk about socializing. Are you able to find community? Is that important to you? Sonia, you want to go first quickly because we're running out of battery, I guess?
Yeah. It's super important. And we have the advantage of speaking the language. So, and Beverly is doing a great job of making little friends on the playground. And we've also met up with expat families through the Facebook groups, which is what you recommended, finding and joining the Facebook groups in whatever place we are. And we've met some really great families, and they're like-minded because they're doing the same thing. So it's been easy to bond. We haven't done a hub or anything like that yet, but we will.
Awesome. And Tiphini, you guys are socializing quite a bit, right?
Sorry. Yes, we did a couple hubs and that was great. But like Jeff, my teens are getting, well, I should say my 16-year-old, my younger one's not as much, but he's really getting good at just talking to people. So here in Istanbul, he goes out, he skateboards, he bought a skateboard and he's been skateboarding, and he does parkour in the park. And so he's met all these local people that he figures out how to Google Translate and talk to them, and they follow each other on Instagram, and he's talking to other, he's like talking to other world schooling teens, and it's been really cool. And then I think one of the biggest things is we road tripped in Tunisia for 2 weeks with locals, and that was an incredible experience. And so we got to really meet like small local farmers and just, these people that we would never usually meet, except for we were introduced to them by people that are from there. And that was kind of being hooked up with them through another family that's been world schooling that met them at a hub in Turkey years ago. It's just random.
Amazing, amazing. Charlotte, what about you? I know you've socialized a little bit with me.
We have, yeah. So because at the type of the way we travel is quite different. So we do some time in a motorhome, which is just off me, the kids, and my husband joins us for that. And that is quite isolating because it's fast travel. We're only usually in a place for a few days at a time. So they don't get that social interaction other than with us whilst we're in the motorhome, really. So I did make a conscious decision for this past year to actually join hub after hub after hub, and that's in the main what we're doing, so that the kids and me get that socialization. And it's worked really well. And what is truly wonderful about the hubs is the fact that we do meet the same people over again at different hubs. Obviously we saw yourself, Liz, at Bansko, then we saw you at Florence, and there was other people at Bansko that were at Florence as well. Tiphini, we met in Luxor, and we're going to be meeting again in Bansko, and then Da Nang coming up. And what I absolutely love is that my girls' friendship group is global. Their best friends are the people that they've now met during their travels, not the people that they had as friends when they were stationary. And I think that is really special.
Wonderful. Jeff, what about you guys? Are you socializing much?
Not as much as we'd like, I think. Yeah, that's something that we've struggled with. We haven't hit any hubs yet. It's just been sort of not so much because we didn't want to. It just timing and travel itineraries just never matched. We have met a handful of world schoolers along the way, and the kids are interacting with other world school teens on Instagram because we let them have Instagram when we left. But I think Yeah, I think that's something that we as a family probably need to work harder at.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, it does kind of get lonely in the, especially with teens, they don't want to just hang out with each other and the parents. Wonderful. So how, maybe, I know we're the timing wise, I'm trying to keep it at an hour. We might go a little bit over. But just overall, how has this adventure, your world schooling journey, how has that benefited your family's life so far? Sonia?
Um, just the quality time, the quality family time. Before this, I was, 10-hour a day, 5 hours every weekend, public school teacher. And I loved it. I mean, I love teaching. I love my old life, but I didn't have any time for Beverly. And now we're connected at the hip. And sometimes I get tired and I change my space. But I remind myself she's only little one time. And it's such a gift and such a privilege to be with her so much. And to be with William and just to have these experiences together and make all of these memories.
Family
It's
time.
family time. Yeah.
Good. Tiffany, what about you guys?
Same. I think that just for my husband, it's been probably the most impactful. He was always working a lot and really hard, and just didn't get to be as present for the kids as he wanted to. And so to watch kind of the relationship with him and the kids blossom even more. Our kids have gotten so close. Our daughter has had a huge transformation. She was kind of dealing with some sort of like depression, mental health stuff before we left, and she's just come into her own and become like a totally different person. And same with my 16-year-old. He's just like, it's been really neat to see them come into themselves so much.
Wonderful. Charlotte, what have been the main benefits of this adventure for your family?
I think it's just the massive opportunity to learn about life. We've had a fair amount of challenges over the past 18 months in one respect or the other. And what we've all learned is that you can overcome every challenge that faces you. You just need flexibility, you need to have a sense of humour, and you need to be tenacious and keep going. And I think those are such valuable life skills to have, when you're teaching your children. So for us, it's overcoming adversity and turning it into positives.
Wonderful. Awesome. All right. So, why don't we talk about some advice that you would give to people who are World School newbies? Maybe they're 6 months or a year ahead of what you're doing now. What would be your key points of advice? Sonia?
Get prepared in whatever way you can. If it's within your budget to take your course, take the course. It really helps. It makes it so less scary and so much more doable. Having the community, being able to, it's a door into the community that you wouldn't have otherwise, is something I really recommend. Just getting prepared, research. It takes a lot of the anxiety out of it, so that once you're on the road, you can enjoy it, things run smoother. There is the potential to hit bumps, but I think the more prepared you are, you'll be ready for it, versus like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? And it'll save you money. There's a lot of mistakes that can cost some money.
Tiffany, what about you? What advice do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I do think, like Sonia said, joining your course is a good tip of advice. That helped us just streamline the planning and get really prepared. I think another thing is that some people skip that I feel like we did a good job with, which was kind of getting emotionally prepared for everything that was to come. We did a lot of that before we left. We've continued to do it throughout the trip, and it's helped a lot. Yeah, and also I think for us, the biggest thing was buying the ticket. So we had a date, and then we just worked backwards from there. Because otherwise you kind of sit around and like wait for the right time or things to align. But if you just like, we're going to do this, you make that one decision, then you can kind of work forward towards that.
Gotta make the commitment, set a date.
Yeah.
Charlotte, your battery's still going. So what advice would you give?
I'm down to 5%. For me, I would probably say flexibility is absolutely key. You might have a plan, you might have an idea of where you're going, what you're doing, what you're going to do when you get there, but it might all change, and that's okay. It's okay not to end up in the place where you thought you were going to be at the time you thought you were going to be there. And again, doing your course helps me learn about the various options available in every subject you could possibly think about. And that allowed me to be more flexible and not be scared and not worry too much when things didn't quite go the way I expected them to. So flexibility for me is right up there.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlotte. Jeff, what about you? What's your piece of advice for others?
Yeah, I would piggyback on Charlotte, and I would just say, once you're underway, if there's one thing you can do is grant yourself grace, because you will make mistakes, and some of them will cost you money, some of them will cost you time, some of them will cause your family to just erupt, and we have done all of those. But we also all just have made this agreement with each other that we're going to sit down, and I think that's one of the great things that I didn't say before, was that we have come together closer as a family, and we all sit. It's amazing. We never used to do that. So just give yourself grace.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So you guys took my beta course and it's so much more fleshed out now. But is there anything major that I forgot to include in the course? Anything that happened during the past several months or whatever that surprised you that you didn't anticipate? No?
I suppose the only thing that the big thing for us that happened was that we were broken into. Our motorhome was broken into, and but I'm not quite sure they could have put something in your course to prepare us for that, Liz.
Well, I did later on.
Maybe all the emergency numbers in the world that you might need, but yeah, so
I did interview
that was
you and a handful of other people traveling around in a motorhome and RV, and so watch that video for tips on that. Tiffany, did you have something to say? No? Okay.
No, I mean, I can't think of anything that we were unprepared for, really.
Yay, awesome. Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I would love for you all to put in the chat later. We have some people watching, but no questions just yet. Let me just double check. Yeah, so hopefully you can check the chat later if there are questions. And also please include your social media handles, because you guys are posting some amazing stuff on Instagram and Facebook, if you don't mind. Are there any projects or anything you want to kind of give a shout out? I know Charlotte, you have a new online business, My Baby Lady, Your Baby Lady, right? Any?
Yes. So I do some new mum coaching called Your Baby Lady. So working with mums with babies between birth and 6 months. That's what I do for a living on the road.
Jeff is taking time off, and Sonya is taking time off from working. Any other things that I forgot to ask you that you wanted to point out? We're all good?
No, well, I do want to say I would love to know more about your next course that you're offering, the Worldschool Hub Creator course.
Yes, I have mentioned it in my group. I'm collaborating. I mean, basically the socializing for my kids and I is really important. So we really like going to the Worldschool Hubs. Sometimes it costs a little bit more versus figuring it out yourself, but I think it's so worth it. And for me, especially because I'm working, so I kind of want my kids occupied while I'm working, but also to socialize. So I've seen a lot of hubs come and go, and I'm friends with some hub creators. So I reached out to them last summer and I said, you guys, I would send individually. I'm like, why don't you start a course? And they're so busy and they don't really know how to do an online course. So I reached out to a number of them, and we've got 6 of them, and then myself as kind of the tech creator, project manager kind of person. I'll be the MC and the moderator. And they're going to put all the content in. I did host a hub for a month in Turkey for teens, but they're the experienced ones. So, we lost Charlotte. Thank you, Charlotte. So, we are hoping to launch it this spring. Everyone's really busy right now. So, and this will help people who want to launch a course or do a pop-up, or, right now it's popular to have those traveling groups of families, maybe with a teacher, maybe not. So all the different ways to do it. So I will put a little bit of information. We don't even have a website yet or a sign up page. We've just been doing things okay, let me know if you're interested, and I'm keeping a list. We have over 130 people interested so far. And we haven't figured out the price yet. We haven't put it together yet. We just have tons of ideas and we're starting, and it's going to happen this spring. So thank you, Sonya, for mentioning that. And yeah, super great to see you all. Thank you so much. And I think, you know, it's really early in the morning in the States, or at least the West Coast. So we don't have a ton of people watching, but hopefully they will watch the replay and ask questions and follow you guys on social media. So thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. I'm Liz Quain. My twins and I have been traveling and world schooling for about 7 years, and I'm happy to share our experiences. Make sure to check out all the other videos on my channel. I have a playlist of interviews of fascinating world school families and service providers who share lots of info and wisdom about world schooling, traveling, and the digital nomad family lifestyle. If you're new to world schooling or have recently launched and are struggling because you're kind of winging it, if you need some help, I do have a super comprehensive 12-week program on how to world school and travel extensively as a family. I share lots of info on travel logistics, where to go, how to find community, how to immerse yourself into local cultures, and the variety of ways to educate your kids while traveling above and beyond homeschooling them yourself, and much, much more. Make sure to watch my free 2-hour masterclass on how to become a world schooling trailblazing family. That is a great way to learn how to get started. I'll include a link in the description with more info. Thanks and happy trails.